Hannah.
And I'm Matt Hanna.
And this is Horror Hour with the Hannas.
And today we have a very special guest, the resident scaredy-cat, Preston.
That's absolutely an accurate way to describe myself.
100%.
Yeah.
I had that planned. That was always I was going to introduce you.
Nice. Okay.
It was accurate.
Running around.
So this week we watched The Babadook.
Well, not just this week, but 10 minutes ago.
Yeah, we just
watching
finished, so we are jumping right into it. The Babadook was released in 2014. It's written and directed by Jennifer Kent, and it's starring Essie Davis. This is an Australian movie, so that would be, if any of those names are unfamiliar to you, that's why. This movie is very highly rated with a 98% on Rotten Tomatoes, and there is a good reason as to why, which we'll get into. But before we talk too much about the, what we liked, didn't like, etc., Preston, what was your experience with this movie? You hadn't seen this before, correct?
I have not seen this, and I guess I'd probably say this is my second or third horror movie that I've ever watched all the way through, ever.
It's a good start for
the
you.
other two, probably date back to middle school, and then that was probably I stopped watching those halfway through because I didn't.
Do you remember what they were?
Oh, that's a good question. Insidious was one of them.
Oh, well, we just watched that.
We watched that for the pod. That was my
did you
first
really?
horror movie ever. So
And you didn't make
I
it
did
through.
not. Yeah, I did not like that. I think that one too. I was watching with a big group of friends in a basement. I couldn't make it through.
That's funny.
But I really liked Babadook. I'm not gonna lie. There were a lot of scenes where I think Hanna, you saw me. I was behind a sheet with
counted.
one eye open.
Mm-hmm. I
So
did count.
I was hiding.
It's funny that you didn't make it through Insidious because I personally found this movie significantly more scary.
Oh, so yeah. I
think-
think it's the other way around.
I think how much they're afraid of the Babadook is very hit or miss. Some people think it's one of the scariest movies they've seen, and then other people aren't scared at all and are like, it's funny.
No, that's a good point. Yeah, I've had
Gay
plenty of people
icon.
tell me this movie's
Yeah,
dumb.
right. It definitely didn't feel like it had as
Well,
many.
the Babadook is a gay icon. Sorry, go ahead.
It definitely didn't feel like it had many jump scares as Insidious did, and I think that's what kind of
That's
threw
what
me.
gets you.
Yeah, that's not up my alley. That was
Me either.
not bueno. But this was actually really good. Again, I was going through half those scenes where the Babadook's either coming out from the ceiling or something with one eye closed. But by the end of it, I really liked it. I think it was a inspiring story about us grieving mom. It worked.
Mm-hmm.
There we go. We'll get to that part. Hannah, what were your expectations?
Well, I've seen this movie 3 times before now. So I know the first 2 times I saw the movie, I saw it in groups of people who were giggling the whole time. So I didn't think it was scary. And then the third time I watched it with Matt here, and I thought it was really scary because Matt actually took it seriously. So today I definitely didn't scream or hide as much as I did for Insidious, but I definitely hid and screamed more than I did for Texas Chainsaw or Midsommar.
Okay.
So I definitely think it was scary. And then I know you've seen this movie.
This is
how
my
many
third
times?
time, I think,
Okay.
seeing it. But
And you loved it every time.
yes, so say the first time I ever watched it, I watched it with my mom. And this came out in 2014, so I was definitely college age. I graduated high school in 2014. And I remember this was the first movie in how many years, I'm not sure, where I actually couldn't sleep at night. I laid in my bed and it was probably a summer night, and it was hot, and I had all the covers over me because I was just scared to even look at the walls or my ceiling.
Have fun tonight,
out.
Preston.
Yeah, actually how I felt, which was crazy. And I remember my mom also saying that it frightened her a lot. And I was wow, because my mom and I've been watching horror movies for years. And I was when's the last one that made me actually scared to take the covers off? No sheet. If I didn't have the full quilt blanket sheet combo on, Babadook was going to get me. So I was hidden.
Well, to be fair, in the movie, when she has the sheet and comforter over her, it does come after her.
She looked at the ceiling.
Oh yeah, that's where she fucked up.
Oh yeah, so you hid.
Can I
All
press
right.
on this
there
button?
Yeah, you're good.
Cool.
Yeah,
We don't give
I
a
said
shit.
fuck many
Pissed fuck.
times. So we're going to move into some 15-second summaries. Preston gave us a tad bit of what I think is going to be a part of his summary.
Yeah.
So we'll let you go first.
Sure.
Hannah's gonna time
Basically,
you.
I'm going to time you just off the cuff what you think the movie's about and go.
Off the cuff, all right. Inspiring mother gets over her grief about her dying husband through the help of a friendly
neighborhood monster.
Yeah. Who eats worms?
Who eats worms? Perfect. Okay.
Love it. That was exactly 15. I'm going to be quick.
Seconds. All right, Matt, go.
Mom learns to cope. Time.
Oh, God. This is a competition?
No.
Now it is.
No, it's not. I don't know if I could do any better than these two synopses.
Go for it.
Go.
Mom and child both have grief, encounter monster that is their grief, and learn to overcome their grief.
Let's go.
Nice.
So, yeah, just shortening Preston's, elongating Matt's.
Although, what was the kid's grief? The kid's grief was...
I mean, he's also struggling because I think he is dealing with the grief of, like, never
not having a
meeting
father.
his father.
Yeah, alright, that checks out.
And, like, yeah, never having that relationship, and then also having, like, the vicarious trauma through mom. A lot of trauma in this one.
Oh, yeah.
So, I know we mentioned that we had some hiding during this movie, so we did.
Preston hid for half of it.
Yes, so we did.
My left eye is sore right now because that thing was jammed shut.
Tell us our count.
So the Hanna hide count this week was 4. The Preston hide count was 10, but
yeah,
like his hides were like 5 to 10 minute long.
I was about to
hides.
say, yeah, we should have done percentage of movie.
Yeah,
hiding
Percentage
for
of
him.
movie Preston was like
And-
70%.
And I, as usual, 0 hides.
Mad
You had
hides
eyes
with 0.
wide open, and then you'd be like,
Eyes
that
wide
scared the
open.
shit out of me.
Yeah.
That's how I watch them. I wanted to
Legitimately
say,
insane.
this movie also sets up early with the lack of sleep, which I want to talk about later, that like no time of day is safe. So once again, we're having one that makes like daytime a little bit scary again. And so Preston
We've
just
had 3
in a
straight of
row
those
where
in a
it's
row,
been
yeah.
like daytime is scary.
Daytime scary.
And that's what I said. Preston didn't know when to hide because all of a sudden nighttime was just gone. We were for a period there was daytime. Like you never actually see because they go to sleep and it just time passes extremely fast.
We also did a scream count, and this is the count between the 3 of us for active screams. It was 8.
Did you count mine?
Yes.
Okay.
Matt
Am I on
doesn't-
this list?
You didn't like scream.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
You
I
were like,
wasn't
bah!
screaming. Yeah,
but like
whoa.
not like a, but I like screamed at 1 or 2
8? That's not too bad.
points.
It was more like, I didn't like that.
Yeah. Yeah. So I feel like 8 between 3 people for a pretty scary movie. Impressive. I also like violently jumped at one point. I didn't really keep a jump count because I never have, but I had at least one violent jump that was not accompanied by a scream,
Which
but
one?
like might as well count.
Yeah, what got you?
happened?
That was early on. I think it's when she looked out the window into the neighbor's house
And he was
it was
standing
just there.
Yeah, that's a
Like
that's
it
a
just
creepy
being
one.
there, I like
I don't know if this counts for anything, but I had 2 moments where all the hair on my body stood up and I got goosebumps, which is the first time doing this podcast that's happened.
Yeah,
it happened twice
yeah.
in this movie.
Yeah, as you're talking about, I'm kind of having them now. Yeah, the scene that got me was the when she's in the police station and she's like trying to convince like the sheriff guy or whatever that like someone's stalking her, and then like it hits you right there because there's no like lead up. The music doesn't like build.
It's just when it's in the background.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
really just the hat and the like
the gloves.
the gloves. Yeah.
We've kind of talked about this before, but you know, we've kind of discussed how sometimes that's the scariest thing. Is when there's no lead up at all, it's just there.
Yeah,
Because
right.
when there's lead up, like by music or lighting or something,
Right,
like
right. I
you
got
can
one eye
prep
open.
for it. Yeah, like
And
you
that's
can
also
close
what
your
real life
eyes
is
or
like.
hide.
There's no music in real life. There's
Scare shit's
no
just
no
there.
jump scare. It's just there, which like
Delightful.
really gets me.
Love that.
We should
for
talk
us.
about the music after you said that.
The music of this movie is so good. The sound design, period,
It's
is great.
really interesting.
A lot of times there'll be sound and then it just kind of like abruptly stops with like a character's motion, or they look at something and it just very abruptly stops.
And it like builds up. It's like a jumbled kind of mess in some ways that like I think really gives you like just makes you like more and more uncomfortable, and like you said, and then it comes to a halt all at once.
And I don't think like with other horror movies that rely on jump scares like Insidious, there's a lot of stings, and this movie doesn't rely on stings to scare you.
Which I'm a big fan of. Stings are lame.
I think they can be fun.
No, you're
but I
right.
don't
There's a
love
time.
them.
There's a time and place for everything.
I prefer something that makes me like more emotionally scared or discomfort than jumpy scary.
Oh yeah, I'd agree. I think the scenes where the mom is like either like violently like ticking or whatnot, where she's like twitching, those freak me out way more.
Really? That's just a visual thing for you?
Yeah, I think it probably.
No, I feel that too.
See, the thing that scares me, like there's a lot that scares me in this, but the sleep thing, and we can talk about this now, but it like bothers me so much. Like the idea of like the poems is like, you won't sleep awake, right? Is like part of it. And immediately after she starts like laying in bed, time just is gone. And something about that happening to me, like in real life, really scares me. The idea of just no sleep. It sounds goofy, but like, and then that like builds on that stress and that like anxiety that she's having as it happens.
Well, because when we don't sleep, our brain function and our ability to do things, period, to remember things, all of that decreases so much when we are not getting enough sleep. So like putting yourself in that place of also not getting enough sleep, not remembering things, not really knowing what's going on around you. Terrifying.
Yeah. No, it really gets me.
And I think they do a really good job showing her lack of sleep with the way they would show time passing of just like her sitting there kind of like twitching with her eyes open and the light just kind of progressively getting brighter out.
Or that scene where she like falls like floating from a dream into her bed and then it's just like 9 a.m. Yeah, I think that's really interesting and they do some fun camera work.
So, I know Preston said his scariest scene. Matt, do you have a scariest scene?
Oh, the scary scene was when she's the one I was talking about before. She's in bed and the door opens and it's like clearly over the covers screaming like doing the Babadook, dook thing. And then she finally like looks up and it's just this like massive, not even massive, just this big blob, black blob like moving on the ceiling. And it finally hits you with like the only jump scare of the movie, which is where it just kind of comes straight in her face. And that's like when it's like starting to take over her. That was the scene that had all my hair standing up. I think what got me was that the Babadook noise is actually so scary. I don't know how they recreated it. The sound's so scary. And this is a very good movie in the like show don't tell and less is more type situation where it's like the camera is under the covers with her. So now you're under the covers, right? And this thing is above and the sound design is just so good of it clearly like above the covers and it just brings you back to childhood of being scared of something and pulling the covers over your head and like it really just gets to me. What about you?
I do find that scene like again like you mentioned when you're a child and you had under your covers. I still do that shit. So
absolutely.
That I feel that and it was really reminiscent of like a time I experienced sleep paralysis and I like at least she could move and she was like under a blanket, but something about it just like really made me recall.
Did you see the shadow demons? So the Babadook?
It was like a mix of like the Babadook on the ceiling with Nell in Haunting of Hill House's Bent Nell Clee.
Oh my god.
Was this while you were dating Matt?
Yeah, this was in the last year. I've had sleep paralysis twice for the first time in the last year.
Oh, I think I remember that. Because you made noises.
Well, because I woke you up after.
What did you think was happening?
You don't know because she can't like talk.
Yeah.
I mean, he was dead ass.
He was asleep.
Right? No, he was asleep. I woke him up after.
Okay.
So that was truly horrifying. I like woke up, but like probably wasn't awake, you know.
She saw the Hat Man.
But I saw like what I thought was a demon in like the doorway of our bedroom.
Yeah. That might be like what this is trying to invoke a little bit.
Yeah.
I never thought about that before.
It was giving.
Yeah.
Maybe he was friendly. Maybe he was trying to help you overcome some inner demons.
Well, to me, all I wanted to do was go to sleep.
I mean, I think what we learned from this movie is you just gotta ride that thing out. You gotta...
That is true.
Ride the thing out. Maybe stay away from your pets.
I don't know.
That shit really was rough. That was what I was gonna say was my second scariest thing. Not that I thought it was like... it's certainly not the scene that like makes me feel the heebie-jeebies the most, but... I can't deal with that.
It's really disturbing because like the dog tries to fight back and there's like growls.
Well,
it's
the
like
dog
actually really
senses that something's wrong and keeps barking at her, and you're like, "No, dog, don't do that. Don't piss her off more."
It's very I Am Legend scene with
Oh,
Will
yeah.
Smith, which is more my genre of movie.
That's a horror movie. We count that.
Is it a horror movie?
I count that as my first horror movie in middle school.
Oh,
so.
interesting.
I count
See,
it. The Dark
I
Seekers
really
are scary.
They are scary,
Have
but
I
I feel
seen
like there's more
Yeah, I
adventure
made you
part
watch
to
it.
it. Whereas I feel like horror definitely has it has that goosebumpy sort of vibe throughout the movie. Whereas I think that one was just more like Will Smith hanging out and having a good time.
Yeah, killing a bunch
Maybe
of Dark
it was just
Seekers.
the Will Smith of it for you. You
Being
were
a real
like,
bad guy.
yeah.
Yeah, right.
We talk about the alternate ending for that movie. We have to watch that movie and talk about how they fucked that whole thing up.
Yeah, the only ending was bad.
No, the alternate ending's good.
Really?
The theatrical's bad, where he blows himself up with a grenade.
Oh,
That's
yes,
the dumb
yes,
ending.
Yeah,
That did, like, it literally kills the
entire.
entire theme and plot. Sorry, I get angry about this.
Yeah.
It's based on a book. They messed it up. Yeah, everyone knows. Everyone look up the alternate ending.
If I'm ever absent for a week, you guys can
We're
just
gonna
watch that and chat about it.
It is good. We will have to find the alternate ending cut because I refuse to watch the theatrical ending.
Oh shit!
But I think you're right, Hanna. Like, it is the Will Smith of it all. Like, once you have these two pale ass children in a dark ass house, yeah, I'm done. That already was enough to scare me.
There you
Yeah.
go. Yeah, it was
the
a dark
whites.
house. Preston was complaining.
It's the whites. That's what I'm saying. I have a problem with the whites.
White people can be terrifying.
So I guess we kind of said our general thoughts. We all like this movie,
Yeah.
Yeah.
right?
I
I'm a
very
big
much
fan.
liked it.
I've always really liked this. I think it's hard to talk about what it does well or what I
without
dislike.
getting into the theme.
Well, we get in. Yeah, I guess we should maybe get in. What does this movie really mean? It's been overanalyzed, and if you didn't know already, Preston, we can talk about it right here.
I
but
think obviously
it seems like you
Preston
figured
knows
it out.
based off his synopsis.
Yeah.
So obviously this movie is very focused on overcoming grief.
And the Babadook
So-
is a manifestation of grief.
Yeah. So we learn very early in the movie that that's our main character.
What's her name?
Yeah,
Yeah.
her name's Amelia, son is Sam,
Too busy not looking at the screen to
to pick up on anything.
I had too busy having my fingers in my ears.
Yeah. So we learn that Amelia's husband, Sam's dad, died on the way to the hospital for his birth. We also learn that Amelia is unable to really celebrate Sam's birth each year because, that's the day that her husband passed away. And she keeps all of Dad's belongings in the basement, won't let Sam near it, and when he does go near it, she has a shit fit about him going near Dad's stuff.
Yep.
So she also says, I've gotten over it. I don't mention him. I don't talk about him. So there's these clear, signs that she is still struggling with her grief. And then the Babadook comes into
And
place.
we should note that his birthday is coming up.
Oh,
So
yeah, in
and
the
things always get worse
movie,
around
yeah.
the birthday because
they
that's
do
what
say
reminds her.
that,
And it's been
yeah.
he's turning 7. So it has been
A
almost
while,
7
but-
years since Oscar, who's the dad, had died. And I think it's also very clear that there's a lot of resentment she has towards Sam, and even just seeing Sam because Sam reminds her of
the
Dad
loss.
and the loss, and he's similar to Dad, and she notes that. And I think there's already a lot of stress as a single mother, and you kind of have a poorly behaved, I don't know if I say that, overactive child, and now it's this is also everything about him is reminding her of her dead husband. It's just seems very difficult for her to deal with him, and she does do a bad job
Yeah.
of coping and dealing with him.
And she definitely gets irritated too at Sam when he expresses feelings about Dad in really any way or talks about him at all. She kind of shuts it down. Sam says, "He's my father too. You don't own him." And I thought that was a particularly poignant quote, just showing how much that she has personalized this experience, despite it being something that's impacted Sam's entire life.
Yeah. We should also say, now that we're talking about this, since we didn't, both these actors basically lead the whole movie and they kill it.
They crushed it.
Once again, Hannah and I are watching a movie where we say the actors are just killing it. We only watch good horror movies.
I think eventually we'll watch something shitty.
We're gonna get to some bad ones.
just for
but-
fun, but we've, besides Insidious, we've watched some 8 stars or above.
Oh, yeah. And I'll say I started thinking about watching this. We had recently seen Nathan Fielder's The Rehearsal. And I started thinking, this kid is 6, probably, this actor. And there's some moments of real, genuine fear. And I started thinking about, I was ooh, I don't know how I feel about child actors anymore.
Yeah,
I was like,
wonder
how much
how
of this
he's
was
doing.
real acting and how much of this was actual fear?
Reacting like they, like the
Fuck something on
director.
set,
like,
yeah.
Well, did you see the rehearsal?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, because so you saw like the kid that basically wasn't able to separate like acting from real life in the last episode.
Oh, sorry, I didn't get to the last episode. I only watched the first one.
Oh, you got to get
Preston!
through it. All right, well,
that show develops in such an
there becomes a
interesting
part
way.
where there's like
Yeah.
a child that they realize like never, like was not really aware of what acting was, but was acting.
Oh,
And there's like a
no.
certain age you get to when you actually understand that.
Like-
Yeah,
And so I just noticed in this, I was like, oh, this kid's killing it. And then I started thinking about, oh, like, is this real?
Well, there have been other horror movies with, like Insidious, one of the child actors really struggled on set, apparently.
Oh, and was
And
actually scared.
James Wan would be like, where do I, like, draw the line of being like, no, it's okay, versus, like, letting him be scared because he
Yeah.
looks great on screen
Yeah.
when he's being
No,
scared.
it's messed up.
God, yeah. We've been
There's all kinds of
traumatizing these
protections.
kids.
So
Yeah.
what was that?
Are there all kinds of protections?
For actors, yeah, there's all kinds of
For
protections.
child
For
actors
children, you
specifically?
can only be on set for certain periods of time.
Yeah.
Yada yada. Like there definitely are
Yeah.
regulations in place. I don't know about Australia. I'd honestly
That's a great
imagine they're
point.
doing better than here.
Ah,
if
who
we're
knows?
being realistic.
Oh, interesting.
I
was
mean,
gonna
I
say
think the
other way.
U.S. is garbage in
Hollywood's
many
good.
areas.
The Screen Actors Guild's pretty good, though. They take care of them.
Yeah,
But I don't know. You're right. It's Australia.
yeah. Like we don't live there, so we don't
That's
know
tough to say.
necessarily. But
It's interesting to think though that, yeah, like in the filming of these horror movies, we're also traumatizing the hell out of some of these kids.
Maybe. Yeah, very likely.
and some of the like adult actors and actresses. Just think about, again, we watched Texas Chainsaw Massacre and think about how much shit Sally was put
Oh, yeah,
through.
in real life.
That actress.
And all the
was
actors
she
just
put
was
being
through?
put
that.
through some shit.
Oh,
well,
they-
there's like a scene, at least one of the scenes that we can definitely comment on because we read about it.
Mhm.
He's supposed to like cut her finger, but they kept fucking up the take, so he cuts her finger.
On her, and she actually like
and
bleeds.
she
It was also like
bleeds.
105 degrees in this Texas house. that
Wait,
they were
he's
filming
doing? He did it on purpose? Like he was
Yeah,
like,
fucking actor
yeah.
did
He
it
says
on
it was the
purpose,
heat. He got confused, but yeah. But that's a different movie. Listen to our previous episode.
Yeah,
I don't know what
Preston.
order
Yeah,
these are releasing.
Preston, catch up.
I'll need like a month or something to work back up to that horror movie.
That's fair.
No, I think I want to. We got to get back to talking about theming of this movie, but I will say you should be good for life now.
Really?
I find that movie so scary.
This is one
I
of
feel
the
like
scarier ones for
yeah,
sure.
I feel like you're good.
I don't know. I think we talked about this too because I think back when we lived in Pittsburgh, we watched A Quiet Place.
Oh, I watched that
And-
with you and Case, yeah.
That's what happened. Okay, and the one scene where the nail
Mhm.
was like put through the floorboard, and then they did nothing with that for like the next 30 minutes. That was the worst 30
That's all you
minutes
could think
of my
about?
life. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
all I could think about.
Yeah, you're
That
fine
was
then.
horrible.
The worst 30
We gotta
minutes
we
of my
have to get
life.
something on
Yeah.
the opposite spectrum of this now for you, and then we'll cover your bases. You'll be good to go.
Yeah, I was gonna say I feel like there's just bases that haven't been covered
Yeah.
yet, so I feel like maybe
Well,
a little early to say.
Okay, we'll have to think of what we want to do next for you.
But yeah,
We'll bring
we
you
could-
back. Don't
yeah,
worry
we could
about
take,
it.
Take some time. Take some time.
But back to theming of this.
I think
One-
to talk about. Oops,
What?
sorry.
Go ahead. What? You want to
I
talk?
think when talking about the theming, I don't know if you like
I
wrote
didn't know.
any quotes about the actual content of the book, but the actual content of the book
Oh, sorry.
says a lot too. I mean, right at the beginning of the book is if it's in a word or in a look, you can't get rid of the Babadook. There's later language in the book that says the more you deny, the stronger I get. I think it's pretty obvious once you pick up on the allegory what those pages are meaning, but basically like grief is always going to be with you.
Mm-hmm.
Like
That's a
it's-
theme throughout the whole thing.
Yeah, grief is always going to be with you, and the more that you avoid it and avoid coping with it, like the harder it's going to be to deal with.
So I was going on the same route, and obviously everyone's talked about this movie. We all know it's about grief, but it's really fun to see the new things you can find. And the thing I caught this time was where she kept saying the Babadook's not real. The Babadook's not real after clearly being affected by it, like seeing it in places, which is very similar. And I think mirrors her basically being like, I don't talk about Dad. You know, we don't talk about him, or like I've gotten over him. And it's like she's using the same coping mechanism for both. is to just ignore, which is not a real coping mechanism that actually helps you. And it's not until she does let it in, right? You have to let it in to a certain degree. You got to keep it. You got to keep it there. Keep it under wraps. When she refuses to let it in, eventually just works its way in completely and takes her over, like grief can do as well. Causes her to lose sleep. Causes her to lose her mind. Really, it gets a little crazy there. But I think the whole point is the kid is saying, "Don't let it in," but no, it is let it in, but control it. Which by the end of the movie is what she's doing. I think it's just really. I think it's really cool. I really enjoy it.
And I think it's adorable too. Like Sam figures that out himself. Yep. He says there's like a scene where she vomits up all this black goo, which like you would assume is her throwing up the Babadook. Mm-hmm. But then Sam immediately says, "You can't get rid of the Babadook."
And then gets yanked up the stairs.
And then gets yanked up the stairs by like an invisible force. But like even he at this point has figured it out. Like you can't get rid of it. Like maybe it won't bother you the same amount every day, but it's always going to be there. Those people that we lose, they're always there with us. It just, some days are going to be easier than others.
And that gets us to the worm scene where she like goes and takes care of it. And I think she says to Sam, like, you can see it when you're older, which I think is like once he can really process like grief better. Because he will have grief for his father, even though he never met him. It's very interesting, like sad dynamic. But then she comes back out after dealing with it. It's like a little scary, right? She gives it the worms. And then he asks how it was. And she said, quiet today, which is like, that's every day with grief is some days are going to be quiet. Some days are going to be loud, but you have to like continue to try to just keep it under control, I guess. Yeah.
I really like that scene too, because like she goes down the stairs and you sort of see her like, there's not like a ton of fear in her eyes. Like she's like there with the bowl of worms ready to feed the thing. And then you like sort of the camera work then changes to the first person, the Babadook, and you see it like come at her and you can see like she like visibly gets scared. And I feel like that's also important because like, right, like it's not that you suddenly overcome like your grief all at once. And like now that you like realize what it is or you can name it, that like now you've overcome it. I think it was cool to see, her facing it, feeling that fear, and then also kind of working with it.
Mm-hmm. I think they do show some level of like coping skills for addressing it too. Like we can see that
killing your pets, coping mechanism.
We do not recommend killing your pet as a coping skill.
They don't really ever acknowledge that the dog is just...
I really hope that they had a little dog funeral, but I would really need that if I were Sam. But like, they show them playing outside. They show them like
having the birthday party.
Yeah. The kid shooting the little like gun, and she goes like nice shot after like
them actually spending time together, spending quality time, and then of course like.
And,
the worms.
Sorry, I get really excited. Mom finally acknowledges that Dad died because they have the service caseworkers come in and ask about school. And the kid's like, I've never celebrated my birthday on the actual day. And like, that's weird. And she's like, well, no, it's not. It just reminds me of death of my husband, and explains it. And I was like, there she goes. She's controlling it.
Right. And I think there's also a pause there too that might have been like artistically put in there, like the director. Because I think the kid says to the caseworker, this is the first time I'm celebrating my birthday since my dad died. And then, like, automatically, I think maybe just from how well the beginning of the movie started with, like, how quick you could see that she would go to anger or, like, shout at the kid whenever, like, you mentioned the father. And then there was the pause there, and then you're thinking, like, oh, is she about to snap? And then she goes, nope, that's what happened. And I think the caseworkers were, like, visibly uncomfortable, but she was,
which is normal.
Yeah, right.
No, ending's great. I love a little happy ending.
Yeah,
sometimes I love a horror movie to be just mean at the end or really nice at the end,
Yeah, I feel like that was impressive too, because I think from other horror movies, I've always sort of... Like, I think I've approached horror movies from, like, an arm's length where I think, like, these are interesting plots, but there's no way I'm able to actually, like, make it through one. But then once I sort of get sucked in, like... Babadook, it was like, I wonder how this thing's going to end. And I think it did a great job.
Give you a happy ending.
Yeah, right.
I think it has a very satisfying ending. It works, like, the overall allegory works incredibly well, but it's also just like plot-wise is very satisfying. Like you get what you want out of it.
Yeah, right.
And Preston, did you notice I'm not sure if you did, because you were scared of the clothes on the floor at the end.
Yeah, the clothes.
But the clothes were Dad's clothes. So the Babadook was literally like the father's clothes from the basement, which just manifestation of grief.
Yeah, right.
It's really, smart movie. Really fun.
Really good movie.
And I want to go back and talk about that kid again, because I know we went on the Nathan Fielder rant, but that kid's awesome. The whole movie, he is so annoying.
Oh, he is cute though.
So cute. Like he gives a great line delivery.
Some scenes horrifying. Some scenes, that kid, like where he's like screaming and it seems like he's like detaching his jaw.
Yeah, he's nuts.
He's crushed.
When she says, "Why can't you just be normal?" and he just screams back.
Yeah,
at her.
see
There's a great meme that people use for that. It's just like he's great. Well, I hope that kid acts more, because like
I would love to
he's
set
not
up and
traumatized.
see what he's doing.
Yeah,
I hope he's okay. I hope there's not like interviews where they're like, "Little Sam went to therapy after this because we on set traumatized him."
Right.
I hope he didn't have to see. I mean, I doubt this really had that many people like dress it up as shit.
No, because you don't see much.
Yeah.
He said this is very show don't tell.
Mm-hmm.
Or excuse me, why am I saying show don't tell? I mean less is more. getting everything messed up.
All your sayings.
Yeah, all my sayings.
I think when talking about Sam too, there's some interpretation that Sam does have like a behavioral health diagnosis or some sort of disability. And I think that that's, is a very prominent theme in this. I have a sibling who's on the spectrum. So like growing up, there were some like similar behaviors. I think one of the things that I actually related to a lot was like, there's a scene where Sam basically brings like a slingshot or something to school.
There's his little dart gun.
And he gets called to like be picked up. And I know like my brother, when he was little, got called for bringing all kinds of weird shit to school. Like one time he just drew a picture of a gun because he thought it was interesting, and that had to be picked up for that. I
think creative kids, they get in trouble more, it seems like. But I think you're right. I think Sam is an autistic king. I think that confirmed.
He's adorable. But yeah, I think like the behavioral concerns were, I definitely saw like a lot of my brother, like young Noah in Sam. And I also think like there's a lot that we can read into like what that struggle might look like for family members too, who clearly mom like doesn't have the tools for coping with life, period, but certainly doesn't have the tools for coping with a child who clearly has special needs and his own trauma.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And it's like, because of, it all builds, right? Like the lack of coping from that leads to the lack of coping with being a single mother with, like you said, a child possibly with special needs. And it just like clearly is very tough, and like has finally beaten her down to the point of the Babadook being able to get in there, right? 'Cause she's like in a weakened state. What really manifestation of grief. It's fun to read it from both. Like it is the manifestation of grief, but also it's a really cool and well-designed monster.
Yeah.
Grief monster. Do you want to talk about favorite scenes, or are we missing anything else?
We definitely talked about scenes we were most scared of.
Mine was the same. My favorite scene was the one in the bedroom where it is just incredible. It is so
Preston's
scary.
like, I'm out.
Yeah,
I'm out.
Preston's favorite scene is going to be like the playground or the birthday.
No, not the birthday.
Where he pushes the girl
let me
to the
skip.
treehouse.
Oh yeah, you can see that one coming from away, and she deserved it. Let's talk about that.
Oh yeah, Ruby the cousin.
Yeah. She did about a dead dad. Yeah, you get.
She was bully. Yeah, you bully about a dead dad, you get your nose broken.
Yeah, right,
I agree.
Right.
Yeah,
I agree. I'm allowed to say
everyone
that.
knows the rules.
Yeah.
Let me think about my favorite
Everyone
scene.
knows the rules.
No, yeah, I'll take that as my favorite scene.
Yes, let's go.
When the girl got what was coming for her.
What does she even say? It's so nasty that it's
Well, she's
funny.
like-
She's like, no,
yeah.
your mom doesn't want you. Your dad died because he
exactly.
didn't want to be around you.
Which is so
It's-
the whole scene, yeah.
Kids
I was
cut
like,
deep.
this kid's gonna push her out the window, out the door of the treehouse, and then like the parents are gonna get mad, and like now I feel sad for the kid. So then I was like, oh, please don't push this kid out the window. And then the kid, says some like mean ass shit like that. And I go, oh
You're
yeah,
like, push her.
yeah.
And meanwhile, the moms, they were also patronizing Amelia the whole time, being like, oh yeah, I worked with, what was it? Not disenfranchised, but disadvantaged moms and things like this.
Disadvantaged women.
She goes off on them. She basically, it kind of mirrors that as well, where she kind of breaks some social cues by talking shit back to the moms.
Yeah, right.
While Sam is also, they're like mother, like son, you know?
I don't know what my favorite scene is. Honestly, I really do love how it wraps up. I think the last scene where she goes into the basement with the worms is pivotal to, like, understanding the allegory. So, I'll say that. I think the whole movie as a whole is really good, though. I wouldn't necessarily say that there are any scenes that were, like, far superior to anything else. I think it's really strong from start to finish.
Yeah. All right, what didn't work for you, Preston?
What didn't work for me? That's a good question. The glass scene where the glass was just like in the suit. Why? Did we see them? Like when she was cooking or something, or did it just appear? I
thought that it was supposed to be that she would think the son did it.
Yeah.
Because
that's because she looks at him like, you little fuck.
But he's saying it's the Babadook, which it probably was.
Right.
But it's to further create problems.
Yeah, the tension between the two of them.
Yeah. Maybe that. I'll have to think about that.
I don't feel like there's anything that blatantly doesn't work for me. I think when I watched this movie, I was a little younger and watched it with big groups of people. They were like, Sam fucking sucks. He's so fucking annoying. Like, I would rage out at him too. And so I think when you're kind of dumb, that is what people take away as the big problem with the movie is that the characters are annoying. But
I think it takes a while to get going for people.
Yeah.
And maybe that's why they find it silly. Also, this came out in 2014, which had The Conjuring came out a similar time. You had Insidious previously, which are pretty quick.
They're very different.
There's a lot happening
this is the start of the quote elevated horror.
Yeah. I don't want to use that term.
But people use the term.
I understand.
And some people just were not ready for that. I have friends who also saw it. The same friends I saw It Follows with, and they also thought that was fucking stupid.
Well, that's dumb because It Follows rocks.
Yeah. I think this movie wraps up better.
Maybe you're right. We are going to call them dumb. Hannah's right. If you don't like the Babadook, you're dumb.
Yeah.
Same friends also didn't like The Witch, which is incredible. So, dumb.
Maybe we shouldn't be friends with them.
I don't talk to them that much anymore.
Oh, okay,
it's
good,
cool,
good. Reasonable. That was the right call.
Yeah, I knew it.
So did we say what didn't work for you?
I don't think there is anything.
For me, I think, this is a 90-minute movie, which is great. I always say horror at 90 minutes is good. And there are points where I do think it feels like it drags a little bit, but it's in service of the plot. But I did find myself being all right, where are we going? Let's pick this up. But I think that's Zoomer brain. I think that's TikTok ruining my attention span. So I don't want to complain.
Well, I also think that sometimes when you're scared, you're like, please let this wrap up. I don't want to feel like this anymore.
I think I could have used more scares, but again, I don't think that services the movie.
No.
Which is tough because there are really only two scenes that really get me, and I feel like I could have.
Bitch, you yelled a couple times.
There's the two scenes that gave me goosebumps where I was I am scared and gonna have nightmares from this. And
Out
I
of the
wanted
4
more.
movies we watched, this is the first movie you got goosebumps in.
True.
Don't complain.
Yeah.
True.
But it definitely seemed like there were no scares in the front half of it, and then once you got to the back half, they started coming faster.
I feel like that's kind of common though in horror. I mean,
I think it's fine.
Insidious, from what I remember, was the opposite way. Insidious from the jump
was
was
pretty scary
just
from the
jump
jump.
scares.
But they're not. Those scares
that.
don't stick with me because they're just jump scares and then it's over. I get desensitized, which is where it's good. You have to have a good balance, right? This maybe has too little scares, but I'm okay with it. But that could be my only I could have been when I was scared. It was peak scared, but I think I would have liked it that peak a couple more times. But that's lame. That's a dumb complaint.
Yeah, so basically this movie didn't do anything blatantly wrong.
No. Yeah, great camera work. I love, and I've said this before to you, Hannah, seeing horror movies directed by women because I think they always have a different feel and a different look because I think women look at the world different. Especially when it comes to horror. I think
one could say better.
Yeah, sure.
Easy.
I think, but I'm saying especially when it comes to horror and where fear comes from, I think men and women look at the world very different, which makes complete sense.
Oh, yeah.
And I think that's awesome. A movie that we'll watch at some point on this is Raw, which is written and directed by a woman.
Or I think Watcher. very much
yes.
is
Was that directed by a
about-
woman?
I don't know, but
it's definitely
the
more-
plot is very much about like is something that women experience.
But either way, I think like women just are different filmmakers than men, and I think it's really cool to see their perspective. And I know like George Miller, not a horror movie director, but directed Mad Max Fury Road, had his wife edit that movie and she said, "Why would you want me to do that?
She
I don't
had a
edit
different
action
eye."
movies." And he was like, "If I have a man edit this, it's going to look like every other action movie. Like I need a woman's brain on this, someone that's going to look at it different than the men that are typically in control of that like medium." And I think in horror too, we will mostly see male directors. Really, in all of Hollywood, there's just significantly more male directors. So I think it's awesome. So shout out to her. I don't think she's made other movies and I haven't seen any of them, so we should put them on a list to watch at some point.
Yeah, she both wrote and directed this, and she absolutely crushed it.
Yeah, she nailed it.
Yeah.
She did The Nightingale after
Okay,
this.
I've heard of this.
But I don't know if that's like...
I heard good things, so we should.
Is that horror
I
as
thought
well?
so, but don't quote me on
I
that.
think that's her only two.
Well, we should support her. Everyone go watch Nightingale, watch The Babadook. What's
the
her name
cover
again?
looks horror. I think it's
I'm
like
a piece of shit. What's her
psychological
name?
thriller. Jennifer Kent.
Jennifer Kent. I did know that. Jennifer Kent. She rocks.
Oh, that movie also stars Sam Claflin, who I like. So
All right.
I'm in. Yeah, we'll add that to the list eventually as a follow-up since the Babadook. Babadook? Question mark?
Yeah, rounds
We've been... Yeah, so it's Babadook.
Did we talk about this?
But we've
Not
been
off
saying
topic, but
Babadook.
why he became a gay icon?
Yeah, so love that. Basically, Netflix, on their listings, accidentally listed it under LGBTQ
Movies,
yeah.
And so everyone was like, "What? Why?" Which there is nothing in this movie that
Yeah,
would
it
make
was
you
a
think
total
that.
accident, but gay icon.
So people started carrying him around at Pride and
Pride.
pictures, and it's awesome. So now the Babadook
Love
is
that.
not only a symbol for grief, but a mascot for the LGBTQ. So
Community.
fantastic.
Doing the
It's
Lord's work.
incredible. I love that.
Yeah, it makes it also a whole lot less scary when you see his face on like a rainbow flag.
Yeah.
That's pretty funny. They
It's-
make those?
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
fantastic.
Yeah, or the book cover, like this little penguin looking walk. It'll have that, yeah.
Yeah, it really
It's
makes
really
it. You
funny.
should look up those pictures before you go to bed. I'm sure it'll help.
Once we ever put
Yeah,
these on
yeah,
Instagram and stuff, we'll have to grab some pictures.
Oh God.
That'll be a tomorrow morning thing I'll do.
Yeah, Preston has to walk home in the dark now.
Yeah, I know. I've been looking out the window, and your AC's been kicking on with like a low growl, and it does like the which immediately is sending me back.
You shouldn't have biked over here. I would have driven you.
I would've.
driven you home.
No, I mean I'd rather bike than walk.
No, I could have driven. Oh,
We would
I
have
would've
driven you
home.
back.
It's all right. No,
yeah, I
you can be
could've-
scared. Babadook's gonna get you.
So on you, Buster.
But we ready for ratings? Is there
Yeah.
anything else we need to talk about? Anything else you think?
No, I'm
You
good.
gonna feel
I
this
feel
movie?
like
Preston's
we've
first
covered
big
my
horror
bases.
It's a
movie.
big horror movie, and it was pretty good.
It's a milestone in your
I
life.
feel like
Yeah.
we'll definitely get him back on.
Oh,
We'll go for a different style of movie.
Yeah, maybe give me a month. Maybe. Give
No.
Me,
Yeah, we'll
alright,
give you
fine,
some
fine.
time. We don't need you back on immediately.
I'm trying to. I don't even know.
We'll get your fiance on.
Yeah,
Comment down
yeah.
below. What should Preston watch next?
Oh,
Comment where.
Exactly. I don't know. TikTok,
yeah,
Instagram.
On MySpace.
Maybe I'll put these on YouTube.
Yeah,
yeah,
MySpace.
All right.
on Napster.
Match.com.
We'll let Preston do his ranking,
Ranking?
last.
Is
Yeah,
this
so we
out
do
of-
10.
Out of 10.
Out of 10.
And Hannah's going to cheat and do decimals.
Oh,
I only do half.
decimals every time.
I only do half decimals.
I do whack-ass decimals out of panic.
Huh.
You're going to go last. You
Unless
want to go
you-
first, Hannah? You want me to go first?
Yeah, I'll give it a 9.4.
You're so ridiculous.
No, I really like this movie, but
No.
there are just others that I like more.
No, I
And I
agree.
can't
But
really,
the point
like-
4 is what I'm saying. You're ridiculous. I think it's funny.
Homie, you should see how I rate books on Storygraph. I've said that on here before.
I
and
know,
I will
I'm gonna make
say
fun
it
of you every
a million
time.
more times. My ratings are partially
No.
nonsensical, but they make sense in my head and only
It's
my
all right.
head.
I'm sure the people will love it. I'm going to give this movie a solid flat 9.
Interesting.
Big fan. I think the
Thought
problem
you
is
would
we
go
just
high.
watched Midsummer recently,
And that's your...
and I just love that
baby.
movie so much, and I don't like this one as much, although I think this movie does everything right. Ratings are subjective and bullshit anyway, so
No, they're
Yeah.
very
who
objective.
cares what?
And
yes.
I am right.
Yeah.
Only mine is right.
And Preston, for the third horror movie, only the second one you've ever watched fully.
Yeah, based on watching Insidious, I guess I Am Legend, A Quiet Place, Out of
It Follows.
It Follows. It
Yeah.
Follows.
Yeah, you've watched a couple.
You've watched some good ones.
I've watched.
Because
I haven't
him
watched
watch
all of it.
two of
yet.
them. I made him watch
But-
2 of them.
Yeah, right. Out of 10
3.
Babadooks, I give it like a 9. Like I feel like the ending was very, and I think like a 9 is gonna be the highest I rate a horror movie for a while, unless.
All right, we gotta find him a 10.
9 Babadooks
Comment down below. Find
out
Preston
of
a
10.
10.
Yeah,
9
if it
Babadooks
ends
out of
in
10.
straight horror, it's getting like at best a 3.
We can't have you watch any movies from the like 2000s.
It needs to
then.
somehow come back
Oh
up.
yeah,
somehow.
I don't want to watch movies.
I told you that
from
the 2000s are all of them end in such mean ways. Sometimes it's awesome though. Sometimes
Nah.
it works.
Oh yeah, sometimes right. Like sometimes you don't want to see the protagonist or whatever.
Like
but
Megan, I saw that it has a happy ending, and I was pissed. I wanted to have a bad ending because it was set up that way. We should talk about that one too at some point.
Eventually.
I was
I'm
really
not
upset with Megan's
emotionally-
ending.
I don't want to watch that one again for a little bit.
Why not? Did it scare you?
No, it did not
Oh,
scare
just-
me. I just would rather watch my
There's better
9s
stuff. Yeah,
for,
I gotcha.
for a little while.
All right, that wraps it up, right? Got anything
Yeah.
else you want to say? Preston, thanks for coming.
of course. Thanks for having
Enjoy.
me.
Thanks for
guys.
being our very first guest. We nailed it straight out of the gate.
Yeah, it was a great time.
Love
It was a
People
great. It
better
was a
like
good
you.
movie to be fair to you guys as well. It was
We picked a good one for him
Yeah, we deliberately picked this one for Preston because we
knew
were
it was
trying to scare
scary.
him.
Yeah, we were trying to make him not come back.
I think it was the redemption for at the end that did it for me.
Don't worry, wait till you're sleeping tonight and you
Absolutely.
look at the ceiling.
Yeah,
Then
yeah.
you'll see how much redemption
Yeah, we
happened.
might have to add an addendum to the end
Yeah.
of this. Where we're like, Preston has
Yeah,
been
to
slept
call
in
in.
7 days. All right.
All right,
Well,
we good?
thanks for joining the Hanna Horror Hour. Again, I'm Hanna.
And I'm Matt Hanna.
Thanks for listening.
Bye, everyone.